Christi Community Radio, the Black Radio segment. And I have with me today Mr. Carl Tomlinson, who's a relatively new resident in the Corpus Christi area. And he has been very active in some of our local Black Democratic affairs as well. So welcome, Mr. Carl Tomlinson. What do you think is the most important thing that people should know about you?
Well, Wayman, thanks for having me. I didn't realize that almost a decade still makes me relatively new, but
Oh, is that, oh, sorry about that.
it's been almost a decade. I guess that is still kind of new, you know. What would I like people to know most about me? I think at this stage of my life, I would like people to let me rephrase it. I think I'm at a point where I'm thinking legacy, you know. So at this point, I'm wanting people to, you know, when I'm gone, people to go, you know, when Carl was here, he actually contributed in a positive way to our community. So that's the thing I'm trying to accomplish in all the activities that I'm involved with right now. Even my commercial activities, you know, as a real estate broker, it's really aimed at helping people because I focus more on the first-time home buyer market, the mid to low-end market, and I get a real sense of satisfaction when folks that think they could never afford to buy a house end up getting the keys to their house, you know, and that makes me feel good inside. You know, so I don't know if that answers the question or not, but
I
you know,
understand.
I
That's
think
great.
it says
That's
what
great.
I want.
That's great. That's great. Appreciate that.
Hmm.
So where were you prior to your 10-year location in Corpus Christi?
Well, when I first moved here from Northern California, you know, I still live in the same home, you know, in Flower Bluff, but I opened a Caribbean restaurant down in Leopard Street, and after about 4.5 years, ended up closing that down. Um, and since then, I've been focused on real estate. So, at least from a earnings perspective,
Mhm.
you know. So,
Well, I understand you have a pretty extensive educational background as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
yeah, you know, I grew up in Kingston, Jamaica, so all my high school was completed in Jamaica. Then I came to the States in the early 70s. Actually, the first time I landed in the U.S. Was in 1970. Then I ended up going back to Jamaica for a year, came back in 72, late 72, I think it was. Ended up joining the military because I couldn't afford college, you know, cash. Went in the Air Force, did 4 years, got out, got an engineering degree from DeVry University. It's actually a technologist degree, BSWEET, you know, Bachelor of Science, Engineering Technology, Electronic Engineering Technology. Anyway, from there I went to work for Hewlett Packard, ended up getting a master's in business from Santa Clara University, and I've taken so many classes just for interest kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know, that if you add them all up, there's probably another degree in there somewhere. You know. But I like learning.
And so what were some of your experiences at Hewlett Packard?
Hewlett Packard actually, when I started out, I loved that company. My experiences were primarily positive. There's always the occasional negative experience because of some, how do I want to phrase this? Let's just be blunt. Uh, One and two idiots there, here and there. Okay. So, but I didn't let that color the lens that I used to see the majority of the people because the majority of people were there to do a job. Folks tended to be cooperative. You know, it was really a creative environment. You know, people tend to work together to try to achieve stuff. And
This
I
was out in
enjoyed that.
California?
No, it started in Kansas City, Missouri, as a
Oh,
matter of
okay.
fact.
Oh,
as a field engineer, running around fixing computers, printers, what have you, at offices, doctors' offices, government offices, schools, wherever HP had equipment.
So were you there when they started having some problems and they brought a new, was it female president and so on?
Oh, yeah, I was there when Carly came on board, and I actually was one of the guys that thought buying Compact was a good idea.
Mhm.
I really did. I could see the benefits of that acquisition to the company as a whole.
Mhm.
But I also knew that the combined company would have too many people,
Sure.
so that part of it was a little tough to deal with, the knowledge that maybe 40,000 people was gonna lose their jobs. And as it turned out, as one of the guys that voted for it, I was one of the guys who ended up losing his job as a
Yeah.
result of that. But I still think it was a good idea at the time. I think the execution of the full integration
Mhm.
of the two companies did not go as smoothly as I had anticipated that it could have gone and should have gone.
So, one door closes, another door opens.
Yep.
So where did you move on to after that?
So I end up moving here to
Oh,
Corpus and decided, you know what, no more corporate stuff for me. Just do it on my own, and so here I am,
I
still
appreciate
swinging.
that.
Yeah, still swinging, and things are starting to look up in terms of the financial aspect.
And so, what, do you have your own real estate company? Is that what it
Yes,
is?
yes, I have my own real estate brokerage. At the moment, it's just me and my wife, that I'm the realtor, the broker, and she does most of the administrative stuff. And we're doing pretty good.
Well, you have a daughter that's involved in the entertainment business as well. Could you tell us a little bit about her?
Oh, yeah, Christine. Well, Christine has always loved to sing, even as a little girl. But when we moved here, she, remember Carl Lewis and the
Yeah, sure,
Deadbeats?
sure.
Carl Lewis played at the restaurant that I had, Restaurant Club, and Christine was there one night that they were playing, and so I asked Carl if she could go do a set on them. She did one song with him, and they kept asking her to do another and another. And when Carl passed away, unfortunately, the man asked if Christine would like to be their lead singer. So she's been the lead singer with them now for about 4 years, I think. She recently formed her own band, Splendiferous. So the Deadbeats are a blues band. Splendiferous, they do popular songs in their style. Some of them they do a little reggae twist to it. Some they do it, leave it original with just a twist of theirs, kind of thing. So they're doing pretty good. You've heard them.
Sure, I enjoy them. I
Yeah,
thought they were great. Did she not go to a musical school somewhere in Florida as well?
She got her degree, her bachelor's, and I think the title is entertainment management or music management or something like that. I should know better what it is more precisely. But yeah, she basically, at least my understanding of that education is it gives her the tools that she needs to be able to manage artists, manage and be an entertainment agent or what have you. So,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
What are some of the organizations you belong to?
Right now, I chair the Housing Opportunity Committee at the Corpus Christi Association of Realtors. I am the treasurer for the Nueces County Black Democrats organization, of which you are the president. So those are the organizations that I'm a member of, that I'm actively trying to impact the community through participation in those organizations. or membership in those organizations. But I also try to go, for example, there's a weekly meeting of builders and realtors and title company folks that I go to because it's another area or venue to learn what's happening in Corpus Christi community. It's from a different perspective, the perspective of builders and, the folks involved in the housing industry, generally speaking. Folks from the city council will come through there. State senator have been through there. At one of the meetings I was at recently. So the idea from my perspective is to stay engaged with groups, organizations that are trying to have a positive impact on the community, and from my perspective, I can pick up knowledge that I can then use to help have an impact in the community.
That's interesting. What do you think are the major, what do you feel are the major concerns about living in Corpus Christi as an African American?
That's kind of a tough question for me. As an African American, I think most of the issues that I perceive in Corpus, I think they apply to more than just African Americans. I think they apply to primarily folks that tend to be at the lower economic scale, so affordable housing, a good education, which these are things that are not just local to Corpus Christi. These are issues that I've seen everywhere I've lived. Part of the challenge, from my perspective, for African Americans in Corpus Christi, is it seems like we're so widely dispersed across the city. You really don't have a black community anymore that I've seen, that I can find, and I've been here 9+ years, so that can be a disadvantage. One could argue that it might be an advantage as well, but I'm open to listening to that discussion among those that would want to have it. But in general, across the board, folks at the lower economic scale do have some challenges here in Corpus. The transportation system, and I might be wrong about that because I've never ridden the public transportation, but just from driving around town as a realtor, it seems like it's a pretty inconvenient tool to use. What do you think? You've been here longer than me.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. I think that the public transportation system fulfills their current needs. I think they do need to work on the streets. I mean, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
What do you really like most about Corpus Christi?
Corpus Christi to me is like a jewel just waiting to be discovered. I believe that we're still the least expensive coastal city to live in the continental U.S. It's a beautiful city. Streets in some places, a lot of places, do need to be taken care of, but we do have some natural beauty. I think the city and county needed to do more to capitalize on those or emphasize those. Right now we're having a pretty tight housing market, but that will be resolved as builders start to build more. I understand that, you know, they don't wanna rush in and go from a slightly tight market to a flooded market, so they're kind of waiting to make sure, I believe, that some of the forecasted economic growth, or the engines of growth that have been projected, jobs that have been projected, that they're actually gonna be a reality before they pull the trigger. That's my guess about why the housing market is a little tight right now.
Well, turning to some national issues, what do you think about President Barack Obama's job performance?
Overall, I give President Obama at least a minus. Why not an A plus? There were quite a few things that during the euphoria of his first campaign, I think along with a lot of other people, had some very high hopes for the things that he could and we hoped he would have accomplished. Unfortunately, his grade that I'm giving him is not entirely because of his lack of action. I look at it more as his inability to find ways around those that would obstruct. You know, maybe I'm being a little naive on that, but.
Let me get this straight. You feel like he should have found ways to get around the people that are
We're
obstructing?
obstructing is, you know, the objectives that he had. You know, there was and we can't all blame the Republicans for that either. There was a period of time when the Democratic Party had the White House, they had the Senate, they had House of Representatives, so, and still a lot didn't get done, so, you know, either he didn't try to do it, which I think he did, or there were some Democrats that were being obstructive then, so it's one of those two, you know.
Okay, I will ask you one final question. What do you think about our Federal Reserve System? Do you have any comments about that?
Boy, I wish I could give you an intelligent answer on that one. But actual macroeconomics was not one of my strong suits. I took it and I just got enough to get out, pass it, and move on, you know. But, you know, just from a general discussion point, you know, I think the Treasury, at least as I understand it, the Treasury basically tries to create a balance, you know, between the labor markets, and the banking system, and commerce, and all that stuff. They try to pull the levers that will accommodate a smooth interaction of all of those, plus other issues as well. They've been doing a great job. I think in some cases they have this almost collapse of our banking system. I really don't see what else they could have done other than, you know, let it collapse and then we'll go into a Great Depression and claw back out. I don't think that was a really great option, you know. Helping those that caused the crash, while barely doing anything for those that were most impacted by it. I don't necessarily think that was a great option either. That's the route that I perceive they took. Maybe there was another route, which would be to, you know, do what you needed to do to prevent the crash, but let those that were responsible, as they get back on their feet, pay. You know, whether it's financially, or if there's ways to prove culpability, criminal and otherwise, maybe some people should have gone to jail. You know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Right. But bottom line, the average Joe on the street who's still suffering, there should have been more effort to smooth the bumpiness for them as well.
I'm about to wind this wind this discussion up. Have you got a couple of questions you would like to ask me before we wind it up here?
Well, I think it's more commentary. I've been around you with the Nueces County Black Democrats. I know it's in existence primarily due to your efforts, and I think that I want to make sure that you know that me personally, I appreciate all that work that you've done, to keep it going. Um, since I've been in there, I've seen things kind of go up and go down, but I think right now it looks like we're back on an upward trend. And again, I think that's because you stuck with it, stuck with it. So I want to thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Do you have anything that you want the listeners to know before we wind up here that we hadn't talked about?
Well, particularly the local listeners, I would just want to invite everybody in the greater Corpus Christi area to get out, get registered to vote, but then more importantly, get out and vote. You don't have to vote Democratic. I don't care if you vote Republican or Independent, whatever. Just get out and vote for those that most closely are gonna align with what your aspirations are for your community. So that's it. If everybody get out and vote.
That's great, that's great, that's great. Well, I want to thank our listeners for joining our discussion. I'm going to try to have something every week, and well, that's pretty much it. I want to try to have a discussion every week, and I want to thank Mr. Carl Thomason for taking the time to come by and visit with us and give us his views and tell us about where he's been, where he is, and where he's going. So, all right, we'll see you all the next time.
Okay, great.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right.